The Galactic Council chamber was quiet. Representatives from 40 different species sat in their seats, watching the human ambassador walk to the speaking platform. Some looked curious, others looked bored, a few looked angry. Ambassador Hana kept her face calm as she climbed the steps. She had done this many times before. She knew how the other species saw humanity. They saw a young race, a small race, a race that had only discovered space travel 200 years ago. To beings who had sailed between stars for thousands of years, humans were like children who had just learned to walk. Hana reached the platform and looked out at the gathered representatives. The chamber was massive, built inside a space station called Prime. Light from a nearby nebula came through the windows, painting everything in soft purple and blue. "Honored representatives," Hana began. Her voice was steady. "I come before this council to discuss the nebula. As you know, Earth has requested mining rights to this region. The nebula contains rare minerals that our growing colonies need. We have surveyed the area. No other species has claimed it. No other species has built anything there. We believe our request is fair." A tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes stood up from the section. "The humans speak of fairness," it said with a mocking tone. "But they do not mention that the nebula sits at the edge of space. Do they not know whose territory they wish to enter?" Hana had expected this. "The Empire marked this region 3,000 years ago," she replied. "In all that time they have never developed it. They have never built stations there. They have never mined its resources. Under Galactic Council law, unused claims can be." A new voice cut through the chamber. It was cold and sharp like breaking ice. "Can be what, little human?" Every representative in the chamber went silent. Hana felt her heart beat faster, but she did not let her face show fear. She knew that voice. Everyone in the galaxy knew that voice. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a female figure sitting on a throne made of black metal. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes glowed with soft white light. She wore armor that looked like it was grown rather than made, and a crown of silver points rose from her head. Empress of the Empire had joined the meeting. "Your Majesty," said the council speaker, a small being with feathers covering its body, "we did not expect." "I go where I wish," the Empress said. She did not look at the speaker. Her glowing eyes were fixed on Hana. "So, the humans want my nebula. How amusing." Hana stood straight. "Your Majesty, with respect, the nebula has sat empty for 3,000 years. Earth only asks to use what no one else is using." The Empress smiled. It was not a kind smile. 3,000 years is nothing to the... We were old when your ancestors were learning to make fire. We will be old when your species is dust and memory. The nebula is mine because I say it is mine. That is enough. "Galactic law states," Hana began. "I am the law," the Empress said. Her voice grew colder. "I have tolerated humanity's expansion because you amused me. Your little ships, your little colonies, your little dreams of importance. But now you reach too far. You touch what is mine. This I will not allow." The chamber was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. "I give humanity 30 cycles," the Empress continued. "In that time you will abandon all colonies in the outer reach. You will pull your ships back to your home system. You will remember your place in this galaxy." She leaned forward on her throne. "If you do not, I will come to your wet little rock and burn it until nothing remains but ash." Hana felt anger rise in her chest, but she controlled it. "Your Majesty, surely we can negotiate." "Negotiate?" the Empress laughed. It was a terrible sound. "Why would I negotiate with insects? You have no fleet that can challenge mine. You have no weapons that can harm my ships. You are nothing. You are less than nothing." She waved her hand dismissively. 30 cycles, little human. Use them wisely." The hologram disappeared. For a long moment, no one in the chamber moved. Then, slowly, the other representatives began to whisper among themselves. Hana saw pity in some faces, fear in others. A few looked satisfied, happy to see the young human race put in its place. Hana walked down from the platform with her head held high. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. Far away, on a planet called Earth, Admiral Park Sung watched a recording of the council meeting. He sat in a dark room deep beneath the military headquarters in Seoul. Screens covered the walls, showing data from across human space. Sung was an old man with gray hair and a face marked by years of hard decisions. He had served in the border conflicts 20 years ago. He had seen friends die. He had given orders that sent young people to their deaths. He knew the weight of war better than most. He watched the Empress deliver her ultimatum. He watched her call humanity insects. He watched her threaten to burn Earth. When the recording ended, Sung sat in silence for a moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk. "Sir," a young officer's voice came through the speaker. "Connect me to Luna Base Omega," Sung said. "Authorization code, Sleeping Giants." There was a pause. "Sir, that protocol is, are you certain?" "I am certain, Lieutenant. Make the connection." "Yes, sir." A new face appeared on Sung's main screen. It was a woman in her 50s with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore a uniform that few people in the galaxy had ever seen. "Admiral," she said, "I assume you saw the broadcast." "I did, Captain. The Empress has given us 30 cycles to surrender everything we have built." Captain 1 nodded slowly. "And your orders?" Sung looked at her through the screen. "Wake them up, all of them. It is time the galaxy learned what humanity has been building." One smiled. It was a small smile, but it held something fierce. "Understood, Admiral. Luna Base Omega will begin activation immediately." The connection ended. Sung leaned back in his chair and looked at the ceiling. For 50 years, humanity had kept a secret. While the other species laughed at their small ships and limited territory, humans had been building something in the shadows. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, in caverns carved from solid rock, 200 massive vessels waited in the darkness. They were called. Each one was 3 kilometers long. Each one carried thousands of fighters. Each one had enough weapons to crack a planet. And each one had been built for a moment exactly like this. Sung pressed another button. "Get me Ambassador, tell her to stall. Tell her to buy us time. We will give the Empress her answer soon enough." On the moon, deep beneath the gray surface, ancient doors began to open. Lights that had been dark for decades flickered to life. Engines that had never been tested at full power began to warm. The sleeping giants were waking. And across the galaxy, the Empress sat on her throne, laughing at the weakness of humanity, completely unaware of what was coming. Alien Empress Enraged. Humanity Unleashes 200 Part 2. Captain 1 stood at the entrance of the underground hangar and looked up at her ship. Even after all these years, the sight still took her breath away. The eternal dawn stretched into the darkness like a sleeping dragon. 3 kilometers of metal, weapons, and human determination. Its hull was painted dark gray, designed to blend with the emptiness of space. Rows of fighter bays lined its sides, each one capable of launching dozens of combat craft. At the front, massive gun batteries waited in silence, their barrels longer than most buildings on Earth. One had been assigned to this ship 15 years ago. Back then, it was just a skeleton of metal beams. She had watched it grow, piece by piece, built by workers who would never tell anyone what they had done. She had trained her crew in secret, running exercises in the deep caverns of the moon where no satellite could see them. And now, finally, the eternal dawn would fly. "Captain on deck." One walked up the boarding ramp as her crew snapped to attention. She saw young faces and old faces, men and women who had given years of their lives to this secret. They had missed birthdays, weddings, and funerals. They had lied to their families about where they worked. They had carried the weight of this secret because they believed in something bigger than themselves. "At ease," one said. She stopped at the top of the ramp and turned to face them. You all know why we are here. You all saw the Empress's message. She thinks humanity is weak. She thinks we will run and hide. She thinks we are insects." One's voice grew stronger. "But we know the truth. We know what we have built. We know what we are capable of. For 50 years, humanity has prepared for this moment, not because we wanted war, but because we knew that someday someone would try to take everything from us, and we decided that we would be ready." She looked at her crew. Some had tears in their eyes, others had hard, determined faces. "Today we stop hiding," one continued. "Today we show the galaxy who we really are, not conquerors, not destroyers, but a species that will never bow to threats, a species that protects its own, a species that builds giants while others look away." She raised her fist. "To the eternal dawn." "To the eternal dawn," the crew roared back. In the next hangar and the hangar after that, and in hangars stretching for kilometers beneath the lunar surface, the same scene repeated. 200 crews, 200 ships, 200 giants waking from their long sleep. On the bridge of the eternal dawn, Lieutenant Shin Ho worked at his console with shaking hands. He was 26 years old, fresh from the academy, and he had never seen real combat. When he was assigned to this secret project 2 years ago, he thought it was some kind of test. A joke. Ships this big could not possibly exist. But they did exist. And now he was responsible for calculating jump coordinates for the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. "Lieutenant Shin," Captain's voice came from behind him. Ho jumped and turned around. "Captain, I did not hear you approach." One smiled slightly. "You were focused, that is good. How are the calculations?" "Almost complete, Captain." Ho turned back to his console. "The challenge is coordinating all 200 ships to arrive at the same time. Even a small error could spread the fleet across millions of kilometers." "Can you do it?" Ho paused, then he nodded. "Yes, Captain, I can do it." "Good." One put a hand on his shoulder. "I chose you for this position because I saw something in you, potential, focus, the ability to stay calm when everything is chaos. Do not make me regret that choice." "I will not, Captain." One walked to her command chair and sat down. Around her, the bridge crew worked at their stations. Outside the other were beginning to move, slowly rising from their hidden docks. "Open a channel to Admiral Park," one ordered. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. "Captain, status report. All 200 ships are activating, Admiral. We will be ready to launch within 6 hours." "Excellent. I will be transferring my flag to the Mountain of Dawn shortly. We will rendezvous at the rally point." "Understood, sir." One paused. "Admiral, the crew is asking questions. They want to know if this is really happening." Sung's face softened slightly. "Tell them it is happening, Captain. Tell them that every sacrifice they made was worth it. And tell them that when this is over, they will never have to hide again." The channel closed. One leaned back in her chair and watched the activity outside her ship. Everywhere she looked, giants were rising. Far across the galaxy, War Master stood on the bridge of his flagship and reviewed his orders. He was tall even for a with pale blue skin marked by the scars of countless battles. He had served the Empress for 200 years. He had crushed rebellions, conquered worlds, and never once questioned his orders. Until now. "War Master," one of his officers approached. "The fleet is assembled, 800 warships as the Empress commanded." Nodded slowly, "And our target?" "The human colony world of New. Population 3 million, minimal defenses. We should arrive in 12 cycles." "Minimal defenses," repeated. He walked to the and looked out at his fleet. 800 ships floated in perfect formation. Each one was a weapon of destruction, built to inspire terror in the enemies of the. "The Empress wants us to make an example," said quietly. "Yes, War Master. She said to burn them slowly. She wants the galaxy to see what happens to those who defy her." Was silent for a long moment. He thought about the human ambassador he had seen in the council recording. She had been afraid, he could tell, but she had not shown it. She had stood her ground against the most powerful being in the galaxy. He respected that. He would never admit it to anyone, but he respected it. War Master, the officer sounded confused. Your orders. Pushed his doubts aside. He was a soldier. He followed orders. That was his purpose. Set course for Nu, he said. Maximum speed. We will give the Empress what she wants. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind only empty space. On the moon, the last of the rows from its dock, Lieutenant Shin Ho finished his calculations and sent them to every ship in the fleet. Captain 1 gave the order to form up. 200 ships moved through the darkness of space, their engines glowing like blue stars. They assembled in a formation that covered thousands of kilometers, a wall of metal and firepower that no one in the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Park Sung stood on the bridge of the Mountain of Dawn and looked at the tactical display. 200 green dots, each one representing years of secret work, billions of credits, and the hopes of an entire species. Admiral, his communications officer turned to face him. We are receiving a message from Ambassador. She says the fleet has launched. 800 ships heading for Nu. Sung nodded. Then we know where we need to be. Signal the fleet. We jump in 1 hour. Yes, sir. Sung walked to the and looked out at the assembled ships. He thought about the Empress and her threats. He thought about the scared faces he had seen in the council chamber. He thought about every person in human space who was looking at the sky right now, wondering if they would survive the coming days. We are ready, he said quietly. We have always been ready. 1 hour later, the engines of 200 roared to life. The light from their drives was so bright that people on Earth looked up at the moon and saw it glow. Then, one by one, the ships jumped. They vanished from the solar system, leaving behind only the echo of their engines and the knowledge that humanity's secret was finally revealed. The galaxy was about to learn what happens when you threaten the human race. War Master stood on his bridge and watched the colony world of Nu grow larger on the. It was a beautiful planet, covered in blue oceans and green forests. 3 million humans lived there, building cities and farms and lives. They had no idea what was coming for them. We will arrive in 10 minutes, his tactical officer reported. Sensors show minimal orbital defenses, a few patrol ships, nothing that can challenge our fleet. Nodded, this would be quick, brutal, the kind of victory that sent a message to the entire galaxy. He did not enjoy this kind of warfare, burning civilians, destroying homes, but he would do his duty. He always did his duty. Signal the fleet to prepare weapons, ordered. We will begin with orbital bombardment of the largest city. Then we will. War Master, his sensor officer's voice was sharp with surprise. Contact, multiple contacts. What? Strode to the sensor station. The humans have no ships in this sector. Our intelligence confirmed. They are appearing now, War Master. Jump signatures, many of them. The flickered as the computer tried to process what was happening. Then it showed them. Ships, enormous ships. They emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, arranged in a wall between the fleet and the planet below. Each ship was larger than anything had ever seen. They made his flagship look like a toy. Count them, said. His voice was steady, but his hearts were beating fast. 100, 150, 200, War Master, 200 ships, each one approximately 3 kilometers in length. The bridge was silent. 800 warships faced 200 human vessels. By the numbers, they should have an easy victory. But those numbers meant nothing when the enemy ships were 5 times larger than your own. A communication signal flashed on the console. They are hailing us, War Master. On screen, a human face appeared. It was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a dark uniform with stars on the collar. Behind him could see a bridge filled with advanced equipment and disciplined officers. "War Master," the human said, "I am Admiral Park Sung of the United Earth Navy. I believe you have come to destroy our colony." Straightened his shoulders. "I follow the orders of Empress. She has decreed that humanity must pay for its defiance. Stand aside, Admiral, or your ships will be destroyed along with your people." The human admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again. "War Master, you were told that humanity was weak. You were told that we had no fleet, no weapons, no ability to fight. You were lied to." He gestured at the ships around him. "Look at our vessels. Look at what we have built in secret while the galaxy laughed at us. We did not build these ships because we wanted war. We built them because we knew that someday someone like your Empress would try to take everything from us. Your ships are impressive," admitted, "but we still outnumber you 4-1. Numbers are not everything, War Master. Your ships were designed to intimidate, to terrify weaker species into submission. Our ships were designed by a species that survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. A species that learned to fight for survival before we learned to walk between stars." The Admiral leaned forward. "Turn your fleet around. Go home. Tell the Empress that humanity is not her enemy. We want peace, but we will not accept surrender." Felt his officers watching him. He felt the weight of centuries of honor pressing on his shoulders. He felt the Empress's cold eyes watching from across the galaxy. "I cannot," he said. "My Empress has given her command. I must obey." The human admiral looked sad, not angry, sad. "Then I am sorry for what comes next." The channel closed. "All ships battle formation," roared. "Attack pattern Omega, target the largest vessels first. Show these humans that they do not run." The fleet surged forward, energy weapons charged, missiles armed. 800 ships raced toward 200, expecting to overwhelm them with numbers. They were wrong. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Captain One gave her orders. "Launch all fighters, weapons free, show them what we can do." Thousands of fighter bays opened along the sides of the human. Small craft poured into space like angry insects, each one carrying weapons designed to crack armor. In seconds, the space between the two fleets was filled with human fighters. Pilot Oh Sung-mi sat in the cockpit of her fighter and grinned. Her was Ghost, and she had waited her entire career for this moment. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader. Stay tight, watch your and remember your training. These have never fought humans before. Let us teach them why that was a mistake." Her squadron roared acknowledgement over the radio. Then they dove into battle. The first ship exploded 3 minutes into the fight. Human fighters swarmed around it like wasps, firing precision shots at its engines and weapon systems. When the shields failed, the Eternal Dawn fired its main batteries. The vessel broke apart in a ball of fire. "One down," Lieutenant Shin Ho reported from his station, adjusting tactical display. Captain watched the battle unfold. They were fighting hard, but they were not ready for this. Their ships were powerful but slow. Their tactics were built for overwhelming weaker enemies, not for fighting equals. And the humans were not just equals, they were better. "The War Master's flagship is moving to the center of their formation," Ho reported. "He is trying to rally his fleet." "Target that ship," ordered. "All vessels in Sector 7, concentrate fire. I want the War Master to know that his fight is with us." Across the battlefield, War Master watched his tactical display with growing horror. Red dots, destroyed ships, were appearing faster than he could count. His 800 ships were becoming 700, then 600. "This is impossible," he whispered. We have never been defeated." "War Master, orders." His first officer's voice was desperate. "Should we retreat?" Looked at the human ships. They were not just winning, they were dominating. Their coordination was perfect. Their weapons were powerful. Their pilots were fearless. He thought about the Empress. He thought about what she would do if he returned in defeat. She would execute him. She would execute his entire family. She would erase his name from history. But if he stayed, he would die anyway, and his entire fleet would die with him. "Signal all ships," said slowly. "Fall back to defensive positions. We will hold until—" He stopped. Until what? Reinforcements. The Empress had sent everything she could spare. War Master closed his eyes. "Send a message to the Empress. Tell her that the humans are not what we believed. Tell her that we need to reconsider our strategy." "But the Empress ordered us to destroy them." "I know what she ordered," his voice echoed across the bridge. "Send the message now." On the throne world, in a palace that had stood for 3,000 years, Empress received the message. She read it once, then she read it again. Her hands began to shake, not with fear, with rage. "Impossible," she hissed. "A hidden fleet, 200 ships, this cannot be." Her advisors cowered before her throne, afraid to speak. "The humans tricked us," the Empress said. Her voice was cold and deadly. "They hid their strength. They made us think they were weak, and now my fleet burns because of their deception." She stood up from her throne. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Recall every ship in the Empire," she commanded. "Every warship, every carrier, every vessel that can fire a weapon. I want them gathered at the throne world within 20 cycles." "Your Majesty," one advisor dared to speak, "that will leave our outer territories undefended." "I do not care about the outer territories. The humans have challenged me. They have embarrassed me. I will bring such destruction upon them that the galaxy will forget they ever existed." The advisor bowed and ran to send the orders. Empress walked to her window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were destroying her fleet. Human pilots were celebrating their victory. Human admirals were thinking they had won. They were wrong. This was not over. This was only the beginning. "You wanted war, humans," the Empress whispered. "Now you will have it, all of it, until one of us is dust." In the nebula, the battle was ending. The surviving ships, fewer than 300, jumped away, fleeing to lick their wounds. The human fleet remained, surrounded by wreckage and fire. Admiral Park Sung watched the tactical display change from red to green. The enemy was gone. Nu was safe. But he knew the truth. This was only the first battle. The real war was yet to come. The throne room of the palace had seen many terrible things over 3,000 years. Executions, betrayals, the fall of empires, but it had never seen anything like this. Empress stood at the center of the room, surrounded by the bodies of 3 advisors. She had killed them with her own hands. Their crime was simple. They had told her that humanity was weak. They had promised her an easy victory. They had lied. "Clean this up," she said to the guards at the door. Her voice was calm now, but everyone in the palace knew that the calm was more dangerous than the rage. A servant ran into the room, stopped when he saw the bodies, and almost turned around. But the Empress's glowing eyes found him, and he froze. "Speak," she commanded. "Your Majesty, the reports from the battle. War Master's fleet has been reduced to 280 ships, over 500 vessels destroyed." The Empress walked slowly toward the servant. He did not move. He did not breathe. "And the humans?" "They lost 11 ships, Your Majesty, 11. For a long moment the room was silent. Then the Empress laughed. It was a horrible sound, empty and cold. 11 ships. They destroyed 500 of mine and they lost 11. She turned away from the servant. "You may go." The servant ran. Alone in her throne room, Empress looked up at the portraits of her ancestors. They had built this empire from nothing. They had conquered species that no longer existed. They had made the galaxy tremble at the name. And now, a species that had been sailing between stars for only 200 years had humiliated her. "I will not accept this," she said to the empty room. I am the Empress. I do not lose to insects." She walked to her command console. and opened a channel to every corner of her empire. All forces hear my command. Every ship capable of combat will gather at the throne world. Every soldier, every pilot, every weapon we possess. We will not wait for the humans to come to us. We will go to them. We will burn their worlds. We will kill their people. And when we are done, we will salt the ashes so nothing ever grows there again. She closed the channel and smiled. It was not a sane smile. Across the galaxy on Prime, Ambassador Hana received word of the Empress's mobilization. She sat in her small quarters, reading the report on her tablet, and felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. "This is bad," she said quietly. Her assistant, a young man named Jun, sat across from her. "How bad?" "The Empress is calling in everything. Ships from every sector of her empire. If our estimates are correct, she will have over 2,000 warships within 20 cycles. But we just won a major victory." "We won a battle, Jun, not the war." Hana set down her tablet. "The Empress is not thinking clearly anymore. She does not want to negotiate. She does not want peace. She wants revenge, and she will destroy her own empire to get it." "Then what do we do?" Hana looked out the window at the stars. "I do not know, but I must try to find another way. There has to be some path that does not end with billions dead on both sides." She stood up and walked to her communications console. "Get me Admiral Park. Tell him we need to talk about options." On the Eternal Dawn, Captain One walked through the medical bay. The battle was over, but its price was visible everywhere. Wounded crew members lay in beds, attended by exhausted doctors. Some would recover, some would not. One stopped at the bed of a young pilot. Oh Sung-mi Ghost sat beside him, holding his hand. His name was Du, and he had been Sung-mi's for 3 years. A piece of shrapnel had torn through his fighter. He was lucky to be alive. "Captain," Sung-mi said, standing quickly. "At ease, pilot." One looked at Du's sleeping face. "How is he?" "The doctors say he will fly again, eventually." Sung-mi's voice was flat, controlled. "He saved my life out there. A fighter had a lock on me. Du flew between us and took the hit." One nodded slowly. "That sounds like something a good would do." "It was stupid," Sung-mi said. Then her voice broke. "It was stupid and brave and exactly what I would have done for him." One put a hand on Sung-mi's shoulder. "We won today because of people like Du, people willing to sacrifice for each other. That is what makes us human. It is what makes us worth fighting for." Sung-mi wiped her eyes. "They do not understand that, do they? They think we are weak because we care about each other." "No," one agreed. "They do not understand, and that is why we will win." She left Sung-mi with her wounded friend and continued through the ship. Everywhere she went, she saw the same thing: tired faces, damaged equipment, the quiet grief of survivors. They had won, but victory always had a cost. On the bridge, she found Lieutenant Shin Ho still at his station. He had been there for 18 hours straight. "Lieutenant," she said, "when did you last sleep?" "I will sleep when the war is over, Captain." "That is not how it works. Go rest. That is an order." Ho looked like he wanted to argue, but something in one's eyes stopped him. "Yes, Captain." As he left, one took her place in the command chair. A message was waiting for her from Admiral Park. "Captain, we are receiving intelligence that the Empress has mobilized her entire fleet. We estimate 2,000 ships or more, converging on the throne world. Counselor Nam Gi and Ambassador have presented options to Earth Command. There is disagreement about our next move." One leaned forward. "What are the options?" "Some believe we should strike now, while the enemy fleet is still gathering. Others believe we should fortify our positions and wait. And some believe we should offer peace before more lives are lost." "What do you believe, Admiral?" There was a long pause. Then Sung's voice came through, tired but determined. "I believe that if we wait, the Empress will grow stronger. If we attack, we may destroy her fleet but start a war that will kill millions. And if we offer peace, she will see it as weakness and attack anyway. He sighed. So I am going to try something different, something that has never been done before. Sir, we are going to take our fleet to the throne world, not to attack, but to deliver a message that the Empress cannot ignore. We are going to show her, and the entire empire, exactly what they face if this war continues. And then we are going to give her one last chance to choose peace. One felt a chill run down her spine. You want to put our entire fleet in orbit around the most heavily defended world in the galaxy, without firing a shot. Yes. That is either brilliant or insane, Admiral. Probably both, Sung admitted. But I have spent my entire life preparing for war. I would rather spend my last years finding a way to avoid one. Signal the fleet, Captain. We jump in 6 hours. Understood, Admiral. The channel closed. One sat in silence for a moment, thinking about what was coming. Then she pressed the intercom button. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for departure. We are going to the throne world. Across the fleet, 200 ships received the same message. 200 crews prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives, and 200 captains wondered if they would ever see home again. In her palace, Empress watched her own fleet gather in orbit, thousands of ships representing the full might of the empire. She had never assembled such a force before. She had never needed to. They will come to me, she said to herself. The humans, they cannot resist. They will come and I will destroy them. She did not know how right she was. The humans were coming, but not to be destroyed. They were coming to change everything. The throne world was the most beautiful planet in the empire. Its sky was painted with rings of crystal dust. Its cities rose like towers of glass and silver. Its oceans glowed with bioluminescent life. For 3,000 years, no enemy fleet had ever come within 100 light years of this place. Until now. Empress stood at her palace window, watching her defense fleet patrol the sky. 2,000 warships, the pride of her empire, arranged in perfect formation around her world. She had called in every favor, stripped every outpost, emptied every reserve. If the humans wanted war, she would give them more war than they could imagine. Then the alarm started. Your Majesty, a commander rushed into the room. Jump signatures, multiple contacts emerging at the edge of the system. The Empress smiled coldly. The humans, they have come to die. Your Majesty, the contacts. There are 200 of them, the same ships that destroyed War Master's fleet. 200 against 2,000, laughed. They are arrogant, good. Arrogance makes for easy killing. Order the fleet to. They are not attacking, Your Majesty. Stopped what? The human ships. They have stopped at the edge of weapons range. They are waiting. For the first time in centuries, Empress felt something close to uncertainty. She walked to her command console and opened the tactical display. There they were, 200 massive ships, arranged in a perfect wall, completely still. Why would they come all this way and then stop? A communication signal flashed on her console. The humans were hailing her. On screen, she ordered. A human face appeared, the same old man from before, Admiral Park Sung. Empress, he said. His voice was calm, steady. Thank you for receiving my transmission. You dare come to my throne world. His voice was sharp with anger. You dare bring your pathetic fleet into the heart of my empire. I dare, Empress, but I did not come to fight. Then why are you here? The Admiral was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of years. I am here because I do not want to destroy you. Blinked, you do not want to destroy me. You, with your 200 ships against my 2,000. Look at your tactical display, Empress. Look carefully. Looked, the human ships were powering up their weapons, not to fire, but to show what they carried. Each had enough firepower to level a city. 200 of them had enough firepower to burn her entire world. We could end this right now, Admiral Park continued. "We could fire everything we have and turn your palace into a crater. Your fleet would destroy some of us, maybe many of us, but not before we killed you and everyone you have ever loved." The Empress gripped the edge of her console. "You would not dare." "I would not want to, but I could, and you know it." Silence stretched between them. On both sides, thousands of officers watched, waiting for the order that would begin the apocalypse. "I came here to show you something, Empress. Not our weapons, not our ships. I came to show you what happens when you threaten humanity. We do not run, we do not hide, we build, we prepare. And when the moment comes, we stand in front of our enemies and we do not blink." Admiral Park leaned forward. "But I also came to show you something else. We are here in range of your guns and we have not fired. We could destroy you, but we choose not to. Do you know why?" "Enlighten me," said through clenched teeth. "Because destruction is easy, peace is hard. We would rather do what is hard." He stood up from his chair. "I am sending an ambassador to your planet. Her name is Hana. You have met her before. She will come with no weapons, no guards, no ships, just herself. And she will offer you terms." "Terms?" laughed bitterly. "You want me to surrender?" "No, I want you to be equal." That word hung in the air like something impossible. "You have spent 3,000 years ruling this galaxy through fear. You have crushed species that disagreed with you. You have built an empire on terror and submission. But that is over now. Humanity will not bow to you, and we have shown that you cannot make us." Admiral Park's voice softened. "But we do not want to rule you either. We want trade, not tribute, partnership, not domination. We want a galaxy where many species can grow and thrive together. That includes the—" "You expect me to believe this?" "I expect nothing, Empress. I am only offering a choice. You can reject our offer, you can attack our fleet. Maybe you will win, maybe you will destroy us. But even if you do, your empire will be broken. Your best ships will be gone. And the other species in this galaxy, the ones you have bullied for centuries, will see that you can be hurt. They will see that you can bleed, and they will come for you." The Admiral sat back down. "Or you can accept our offer. You can meet with Ambassador. You can sign a treaty that makes us equals. And you can build something new, something better, something that lasts." "And if I refuse?" "Then we wait here until you decide. We are patient, Empress. We come from a world that tried to kill us with ice, with fire, with disease. We learned to wait. We learned to survive. We can wait for you as long as it takes." The channel closed. Empress stood alone in her throne room, staring at the blank screen. Around her, advisors whispered and trembled. Outside her window, two fleets faced each other across the void. She thought about her ancestors. She thought about 3,000 years of supremacy. She thought about the fear that had kept her empire together for so long. And she thought about the human admiral, sitting in his ship with enough firepower to destroy her world, choosing not to use it. 3 hours later, Ambassador Hana landed at the palace. She came alone, as promised, walking through halls filled with guards who could have killed her in an instant. She showed no fear. She smiled at the servants. She complimented the architecture. She walked into the throne room and faced Empress. "Your Majesty," Hana said, bowing slightly, "thank you for receiving me." "You are either brave or foolish," replied. "I am human. We are often both." For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the corner of his mouth twitched. It might have been the beginning of a smile. "Sit," the Empress said. "Tell me your terms." They talked for 6 hours. Hana laid out a treaty that treated both species as equals, trade agreements, non-aggression pacts, cultural exchanges, a seat for thee on the new Galactic Council, and a seat for humanity as well. Argued, she threatened, she demanded changes, but in the end she signed. Because she had looked out her window at the human fleet, and she had seen something that scared her more than any weapon. She had seen patience. She had seen mercy. She had seen the quiet strength of a species that did not need to prove itself through cruelty. And she had realized that this was a species she could not defeat through force. The only way forward was together. 1 month later, the Galactic Council held a ceremony on Prime. Representatives from every species watched as Empress and Ambassador Hana signed the treaty together. Humanity was officially recognized as a major galactic power, not through conquest, but through strength and restraint. Captain One watched the ceremony from the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. Beside her, Lieutenant Shin Ho looked out at the stars. "Do you think it will last?" he asked. "The peace, I mean." One thought about it. Maybe, maybe not. Peace is never permanent. It requires constant work, constant vigilance, constant hope. Then why do we bother? One smiled. Because the alternative is worse. Because every day of peace is a day our children do not have to fight. Because building is harder than destroying, and we choose to do what is hard. She looked out at the ceremony, at the gathered species, at the fragile hope being born in that moment. "We showed them who we are," she said quietly. "Now we show them what we can become." The fleet jumped home. Across the galaxy, species who had once ignored humanity now spoke the same words in 100 different languages. Never underestimate the humans. Not because humans were the strongest, not because they were the most advanced, but because when faced with a choice between revenge and mercy, destruction and hope, they chose hope. And that made all the difference.